Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another thing where I talk about things, and it's rather misleading an intro because you can't tell if you've already watched this video or not. So, anyway, I'm back from Denmark. I've been back for just a little bit, caught up on some things, did a thing about copyright and how terribly it's handled on YouTube. YouTube's still, for some reason, very proud of all the stuff that they enable to happen on their website. No remorse on their part. We do hear that they are going, like I say, they're going to reestablish their inquisitorial program on us eventually. We don't know when they're going to do it, but I know that the last time that they did it, it crashed their website, so I'm hopeful that they're encountering a ton of technical problems, and maybe we won't see it for a while, because the more videos I upload before they implement that system again, the more money I can make before they start trashing this, everything that I do again. So yes, it's a pain, but we'll see what happens. It's supposed to be a different system, but honestly, I don't trust them to do much of anything, really, as far as that whole front is concerned. Yes, Christmas, though. Happier news, much happier Christmas. I got a gift for Christmas. I also got a really nice donation from one or two people, and I thank you guys for that. I really appreciate it. It's been a really nice, this month has been really nice for us. We got the advertisers pay a lot of money for the stuff on the site because it's Christmas, and they buy our stuff, and so that was good. And my parents paid my rent for the month for my Christmas gift. It was just what I wanted. It was a really good gift. You would think that, it's like when you're an adult, it's like when you get socks for Christmas, and you're like, ah, yes, socks. Man, my old socks were getting torn up. Life is good. Your sensibilities change. So anyway, though, so that was good. Denmark was okay. I met Kinza's family. I asked them for the blessing to marry their daughter, and it didn't go so well at first. There were some negotiations, and eventually got the blessing though. So things have worked out in the end. Like I said, it took a little bit of stress along the way. Stuff about some legitimate concerns, such as what is Greg doing with his life. One of the fair ones. That was one of the more fair questions that they asked. But anyway, though, aside from that, Children of the Sandler. Let's get back into that. So, yes, where last we left off, because it's been quite a while, I almost couldn't remember. I had to go back and look at the video. We had gone into the desert, which Sandler had created entirely from scratch. He'd made this thing up all on his own. He had his own random encounter table, so every time we tried to do anything outside of this little town, we would get attacked. Just like an RPG like Final Fantasy VII or whatever. So he would just roll the dice, and you'd get attacked by a dragon or a giant sandworm or something like that. And that was pretty frustrating because, as it turned out, what Sandler had done is he'd had this little town built. And we were shocked because we thought that this was supposed to be like an archaeological dig site. And we go out there, and what they've done is they're not doing archaeology. They have taken brick and mortar and wood and things like that, and they've transported all this stuff out there, and they have made a town. They are now living in the middle of the desert. They've dug a well, it is a permanent place of residence, and the only thing that they do is they just I don't know how they eat. I don't know exactly what they're doing. It appears that they're paying people to import the food, and so none of us could really understand how this was a financially beneficial venture that they were making, but apparently they thought that this was an amazing idea, this archaeological dig. And of course, it was Sandler who was heading it, Sandler the character, so it was, in the end, ludicrously, beneficial to him. It turned out to kill most of the party, though, because the first thing that we did is there were 5 pyramids, and we were sent out to investigate one of the pyramids, and so we went out there with a small research team of nameless NPCs and ourselves. And of course, we were the gooks that were supposed to go out in front and make sure that nobody else got in trouble. So we did that, and Sandler just picks up a die and he rolls it. And it was like his D100 or something like that. And he goes, everyone in the first, everyone here, he would have us order ourselves. And he goes, everyone in front, the front 3 guys, all of you roll agility. And so we all roll agility, and of course Sandler rolls a 30, and our dice go up to a maximum of 10. So he goes, you are all dead. And he just kills them all. Just 3 characters, just like that. Boom, dead. And so I lose my first character that way, my first character to the new era of Children of the Sandler. So you guys can already see about where this is going. I don't remember what all happened after that because I had to sit down and make another character. And by that time, like I said, Sandler had established, just for the sake of having his own hybrid child, he'd established the hybrid character rules, where you could be half Wolfman and half Bearman. And I decided that that would be really great because the Wolfman and the Bearman both got bonuses to strength. And the way that Sandler designed it is those stacked. So I wound up with like a D12, a 12-sided die in those stats instead of a 10-sided die, which previously was the maximum. So I wound up ahead of the game. And then same went with agility and also fortitude, like your ability to withstand stuff, damage. I wound up dumb as a rock. I had like a D4 minus 4 or something like that in my intelligence. I wasn't very good at reasoning, but I decided to make the character taciturn, which means he doesn't speak, he didn't interact with people, and I figured, what was the point playing Children of the Sandler? I might as well just play a mute thug, and I would just be hired for the whole thing. So everybody went back, and it was thoroughly defeating because there was nothing in that pyramid except for traps, which wiped out pretty much everyone in the party, and there was really nothing else to do. And so then Sandler tells us, like, well, you guys have to go and explore the other ruins, these other pyramids. What if there's no traps in there? And the thing that was very, very frustrating is that the traps reset themselves. So if you set them off going through once, they would reset themselves and then kill the party coming back. So you had to dodge them going, forward and back, and there was no telling whether or not Sandler would roll a die that was so large that it could potentially kill the whole party without anyone ever having a chance to dodge it. So what we started doing is we started getting the NPCs to go, and we would take charm rolls to like convince them that this was a good idea. We were like, oh yeah, we checked it safe. And we would just have them walk across and then take note of where the traps were and then try and get through these pyramids so that the NPCs set off the traps for us and they died, and then we were able to proceed along. And this was fine, except for then Sandler punished us by making us pay for every death. And so like we used to have gotten to debt doing this because he killed so many NPCs. It was just one of those things, it was like send them across, see what kills them. Oh, there's like a dozen things that kills them, and we lost like 10 guys. So that would be like 100 gold pieces, and none of us started with more than 100. It was like we start with 100 gold, that's it. So that sucked, and then it turned out that there was nothing in any of the pyramids. So we go back to the main town, and we sit down, and we just kind of scratch our heads, and we say, what is the point of this mission? Why are we here? Because we'd had to almost completely redesign the whole party. Like everyone had died. And I believe that I had a partner originally, like I was taciturn, and I looked at one of the other characters who died, and I go, so what do you want to do? Like, do you maybe want to be like a mercenary team? And he goes, yeah, and I can't remember who this was. I think it might have been Iggy, because maybe he didn't play Cat right away. I think maybe it was Iggy. And Iggy goes, yeah, because we used to do that a lot. Me and Iggy, we would make partner characters after a while. We got used to that sort of thing. And so he goes, yeah, and so he made a partner, and then I think he got killed in the next pyramid. So it was one of those things, it was like suddenly, my character, Kalen was his name. Kalen had no partner. He was just kind of taciturn, couldn't speak to people, was as dumb as a rock, and all he could do was just follow the party around and bash things in the head. But fortunately, he was the only one strong enough to actually battle monsters. And here was the thing that was strange. Sandler he gave 1 experience every time you wounded a monster. And since Kalen was the only one who was, by breaking the rules of the original rulebook, strong enough to actually fight these monsters one-on-one, he was the only one gaining experience. And he was gaining a ton of it, because Sandler would try to drown us in monsters, and Kalen could actually fight them. Like, normally you would just die. You'd get overwhelmed, you'd lose all your dice, you would die, but Kalen could do it. So Kalen got a ton of experience, and after every round, I kept pumping more points into him. And eventually, Kalen, I think even by the time that we got out of the desert, Kalen was a fully functioning, like, highly intelligent individual with great skills and a ton of things. I was an unstoppable death machine in terms of combat. I had, like, a rank 10, which was the rank of the gods, and, like, sword uses. I think I took, like, exotic weapons, like whips. I was just like, So, yes, that became the only character that really survived for most of this game. But he got to be ridiculous. So anyway, though, eventually Iggy just took over Cat, this NPC that Sandler had designed. And so we were just kind of sitting around. We go, Sandler, we can't figure out what it is you want us to do with these horrible death pyramids, and we're not going back in them anymore. And then Sandler goes, oh, well, you guys are dumb. I gave you these star charts, because he'd drawn out these star charts, and he'd drawn out, like, a map of the area, and he'd given them both to us. And he goes, you guys are dumb. Like, you obviously don't see the obvious thing that I've done here. And so we're like, what have you done? And he's like, look at the star chart. And we look at it, it's just dots all over the map. And what Sandler had actually done is he'd drawn constellations onto the star chart. But the thing that Sandler didn't realize is that constellations, like, they're just patterns that, like, you see randomly. Like, you could just sort of say, like, I mean, you don't look at Orion and say to yourself, like, oh yeah, that looks like a man. Someone has to explain to you, like, there's Orion's belt, and, you know, there's the head, and there's the arm, and, you know, whatever. Or the, you know, the Ursa Major. Someone's like, oh yeah, it's a bear, you know, there's the bear parts, whatnot. So he had drawn out these constellations, and in his own mind, he'd drawn, like, bears and men and stuff like that. But we couldn't see it. And there was no way we were ever going to be able to see it. It just was not going to happen. So Sandler, he just berated us for a while, and we were like, Sandler, just let us take an intelligence roll. Like, let us roll to see what it is you think that we need to do. And he wouldn't do it. He refused, and he refused, and he refused, and we had no ideas. He made us look over the maps, and eventually, like, we just kept telling him, we don't see anything, we don't get it, what do you want? Finally, he let us roll. We took enough rolls until he finally just snatched the map away from us, and then he draws, like, a design that connects all these little pyramids together, and then he draws, like, he just puts, like, a pin in the center of the map, and he goes, there. And we say, what is that? And he goes, they're all connected to that point. And we look at it, and we're like, this is the base camp. And Sandler goes, I know it is. You guys are retarded. And we're like, no, I'm pretty sure that Sandler is retarded because he built a base camp for an archaeological dig site on top of the archaeological wonder he was looking for, and didn't dig down to find that stupid archaeological wonder. He just made us travel to all the freaking pyramids. And the thing that was funniest, though, was that I looked at the other map, and I said, Sandler, this is impossible. And Sandler goes, it's not impossible, I just made you guys roll intelligence and I showed you. And I go, Sandler, it's not possible because the town has a well in the center of it. Told you guys about this earlier. And so Sandler just kind of looks at his map. He goes, oh. And he just erases the well and he moves it outside the town. And so we're like, oh, okay. So that's how it works. So we go to inform Sandler that we think, based on these inferences we've made on this star chart, that probably there might be a really important artifact buried below the campsite. Or rather, just this town. It was not even a campsite, just the town. And so Sandler goes, there's no way that there's anything below the town. We would have known if there was something below the town. You idiots get back in those dangerous pyramids and start looking around. And so we try to roll persuasion rolls, and Sandler just won't have any of it. We fail all of them, because Sandler has way more intelligence and way more willpower than all of us. And we could not convince him, because he was such a high-level character. We could not overcome any of his rolls to make him listen to us. So whatever he wanted to tell us is just what we had to go with. We couldn't stop him from being a jerk. So we looked at it again, and we figured out, we narrowed it down to precisely what building this thing was under. It turns out it was under the daycare. The daycare that they had built explicitly to take care of Sandler's horrible mutant offspring abomination children. So we try to explain, we go and we find Aisha, you know, Sandler's wife, and we try to explain to him that we just need to, you know, lift up some of the floorboards and maybe check around, do a little bit of digging underneath this stupid thing. And we could check and see if maybe there's something below the site. And she throws a tantrum. She goes, this is where I'm raising my kids. You know, you cannot tear up this daycare. Where's my kids here? You know, this is where my kids go every day. And it was one of those things we're starting to really wonder why it was that Sandler brought his wife so that his kids could be in the daycare here out in the archaeological site. Because suddenly it was like dealing with endangered animals or something like that. It was like we found out that brown speckled owls lived on the archaeological site, and we couldn't dig because the stupid owls lived in the sand. Excuse me. Completely tripped over that sentence. They lived in the sand. The stupid owls lived in the sand. We couldn't dig them up. It would be disturbing their habitat. So what we then had to do is we had to wait until nighttime, and under cover of darkness, we broke into the daycare, pried up the floorboards, and just dug straight down until we hit a door. And this is one of those things that was really lucky, is we hit this door, and we opened it up, and it turned out that it entered into yet another kind of pyramid, but this one was totally underground. Also full of mummies, it turns out. We got a rope and we go down in there, and we look around with our torches and everything, and as soon as we land, as soon as we touch down, the mummies wake up. And this was one of those times when we all just wanted to slap Sandler, because it turned out that the mummies, he had designed them with so much health, because he goes, they're undead, you know, how could you possibly kill them? They were designed with so much health that we couldn't fight them. Like, we would hit them, they were slow, they couldn't hit us back, but they wouldn't die. So it became just like a boring dice rolling slog, like where you really couldn't You couldn't cull the horde or anything like that, but you also couldn't lose to them. It was just stupid. And so eventually we got this bright idea. We said, Sandler, mummies are really dry, right? Because they're dead. And actually, I don't think that they are. I think that they remain, well, I don't know, maybe they do. Anyway, we just decided that they were. We go, Sandler, they're really dry, right? Because they're dried out corpses. And Sandler goes, yeah, sure they are, guys. And we go, so why don't we just set them on fire? And I mean, they're like all huddled around together. We'll set them on fire, we'll go up the rope and, you know, let them all burn to death. And so Sandler goes, okay, fine. But only because this is getting really boring for everyone, including myself. Because he wasn't killing any of us. He only thought it was funny when he killed us. So we set them all on fire. We go back up the rope. We wait for all these stupid mummies to burn to death. And then we go back down. We find out that the entire place is full of all kinds of insane riches. Stuff that, like, Sandler just makes up off the top of his head. He goes, like, these types of gold that just don't really exist. It's like jade, alloy gold, stuff like that. Like things that you would think that, you know, like opal, silver, you know, I don't know, just hybrid stuff, crazy polymers of like rare materials, things like that. Anyway, so we're going around and we get to finally like the Pharaoh's chamber, and that's got even more crap in it. There's like a big golden fountain in the center, and it's made out of like, you know, like gold and platinum, and it's, you know, it's liquid, I don't know, life elixir spouts from it eternally, something like that. And we're like, oh, I bet that's valuable. So we go in there, and then the Pharaoh wakes up, and what the Pharaoh does is even more frustrating, because the other whatever they were, zombies, mummies. The other mummies were just really durable, but the Pharaoh projected a field of darkness that even a torch couldn't penetrate. And the reason why Sandler had done this is because he looked through the book and he realized that there was a rule called, you know, about dark sight, where certain species of animals could see in the dark and other species could not. And it was something that you kind of had to pay into a little bit, though, because you had to sort of hone the sense to some degree. And it was really cheap. If you were like a cat person, which Cat was a cat, you could see in the dark. And so Cat had dark sight. But the Bearmen and the Luperati I think might have, but I didn't take the points because it was one of those things. The Bearmen I don't think they did. And Cat was the only one who could see in the dark. So what wound up happening is the rest of the party evacuated, and then we all sat around and waited for, like, I think that battle went on for like an hour solid. And it was just Cat and the Mummy King. And they fought each other for all this time. And the Mummy King was slow and had billions of health. And Cat was too quick to be hit, so it was just a boring, stupid fight. But finally, we kill the Mummy King. We go upstairs, we inform Sandler, we said, here is your gold, we hope you're happy. So they load it all up into elephants, they don't even congratulate us. I'm pretty sure that we got a bit of a tongue lashing for tearing up the orphanage. They thought we could have done things in a slightly better manner. But whatever, they were retarded. They didn't do any of the work. We actually did all the digging, we found all the stuff, and lucky there wasn't any kind of history to worry about because we burned it. So, yes, that was the first mission in the new Children of the Sandler, the final chapter, as it were. So, anyway, I think that'll be enough for now. I will talk to you guys later.